Welcome, Tim. So good to see you again just before the holidays, and I hear you're leaving us, which is very sad. You're a great contributor to these panels. And I was wondering if you could tell me, what do you think happened this year? Because we started at massive high rates of crypto and interest in blockchain, and now we're down to, very low rates and not as much interest.
Yeah, so there's an economist named John Kenneth Galbraith who invented this term called Bezel, like short for embezzlement. And the idea here was you don't know something's a scam until everyone's like, yeah, basically. You see this with like Theranos and a number of other companies. So I think what happened is, since all these coins are like very tribal and narrative driven, the demand for fraud, or the supply of fraud met the demand for fraud. Everyone, there's like 2,000 coins or whatever we want to call these things out there now. So I think that once they tapped out the retail market in Asia, and again, we could talk about the politics of that, the prices couldn't sustain, and as a result, we just had this sustained washout for the past, 10 months, 11 months.
And companies from all over the world came here, and there was like conferences almost every day, particularly at the beginning of the year, but even now, which to me is crazy. I've never really heard of that before in the startup ecosystem.
It's funny, I was actually just met with Pierre. We bumped into each other at this event right down the street.
Yes.
Literally.
A Singapore one.
I'm not sure. Singapore, okay. So the joke, I guess, this past year has been, aside from being an ICO, or organizing those and issuing the three sets of people sets of segments that have actually generated any revenue are the lawyers, are the conferences, and then the miners of the coins. So, but that was pretty much true during 2014 as well. So maybe there's some parallels between those two bear markets.
Okay. So where do you think we're going in 2019? What's your vision?
I don't think there's a whole lot of things to buy, like for companies to acquire. And it's not because, aside from people, you do acqui-hires and stuff like that, but you're going to have a lot of and I was just talking to a VC about this the other day. They have a lot of money and they're looking to acquire, but the problem is you're going to have a misfit between culture, between the folks who work on stuff, and the languages that were being used. Because when people say they're platform agnostic, you really can't be at this stage yet. That tool. So I don't think that there'll be a ton of M&A outside of like these small like group purchases for the talent. And I think that there's going to be a shift again, and you can't see him off camera, but Pierre, we talked about this 3-4 years ago, this repivot to catering towards institutions and enterprises. Again, you could say that on the coin side, but definitely on the infrastructure side too, because enterprises have capital and budgets that they could deploy for years and years. And the only way to sustain these things that don't involve retail activity is to try and find some way to pitch it to these large organizations.
And so all that excitement at the beginning of the year and the end of last year, you think that's what has prompted corporates and bigger companies to take an interest, feeling like they have to look at blockchain?
Maybe a little bit. I think that there's two parallel worlds going on. And I think that you have, again, I'm not endorsing IBM, but they have an entire sales team that's trained up to go pitch their, whatever platform that they have of the day. They've got like 3 or 4 that they've announced. And as long as entities like them and Oracle and Amazon just announced 2 different platforms that are quote unquote blockchain related like 2 weeks ago. So they all have their own sales force that they're going to be doing this irrespective of whether the coin prices of whatever coin's going up or down. But yeah, I think that fundamentally the two worlds are going to have to figure, or they do live in coexistence. Whether they'll merge or blend, I'm just very skeptical at this stage still. But ask me again maybe next time I'm in San Francisco.
Okay. Thanks so much, Tim, and I really appreciate that you come, and I'm sorry that we're going to lose you, but please come back.
Do my best. Thanks so much.